Thank you, Teresa. This is Thursday morning. Yeah, I got my day right. Finally, I've caught up. And this is the Thursday morning meeting of the House Appropriations Committee, and we're going to continue with some committee discussion. We have some members that are out because people are going to be in and out as they're working their committees of jurisdiction so that we can get this budget sewn up as quickly as possible, but I always want to use the word thoughtfully too. It's not just a rush job. You know, we are putting in the work and many hours that, you know, on our own to figure out these budgets. We have from 8:30 to 11:30, and I'm not going to keep us that long without a break. There is a joint fiscal meeting at 12:15. There's the federal money that has come in for UI, the additional 300. The state of Vermont applied for the 300. You did not have to apply to do the matching money, which the governor has out in a separate proposal and a $20 million proposal through the JFC that would provide the extra 100. At Monday's meeting, the Joint Fiscal Committee thought that those types of issues really should come back to the legislature and go through the committees of jurisdiction and follow the full process. And but the other money is approving a federal grant. And so that will be done. That discussion will happen today at 12:15. But the additional 25% that is no longer a requirement to get the first 300 as initially believed will follow the committee process. And then we don't have any other testimony, I don't believe, and we need to be on at 4 o'clock for our 5 o'clock hearing. You just have to be on, but then you can step away and just make sure you're there a couple minutes before 5. I just have to shut a door quickly. I gotta shut this door, Jill. Oh, okay. And so what I would like to do, I want to just frame up our work, and I think you guys all have this in your head pretty clearly, but I just want to frame it up maybe more for me than anyone else in the committee. By next Friday, our work really needs to be done. Whether it's done enough to pass a bill out, that would be most aggressive, but we have to have all of our decisions made. So over the weekend, we can have a bill up. Monday is Labor Day, and I don't think you guys want to be here on Labor Day. I don't know if we can even hold a meeting on Labor Day, but we would come back Tuesday. We would proofread, make any small adjustments that we needed to that came to light over the weekend, and vote this budget out the following Tuesday. So tomorrow we have a week, 5 days, and we have 6 days left to work on this bill after we finish our work today. So working closely with your committee person and your chairs is going to be so critical. The pressure is on the policy committees because not only are they reviewing their budget pieces and make sure they know all their budget pieces and all their language pieces, but they also will be making some CRF decisions for that final, what did Steve give us the number, about $190 million. It's going to go through the legislature, and those will be reflected in our budget as well. There may be some other items that come into the budget. There's a couple education issues that are being looked at regarding the number of school days, whether there's a waiver, whether that will travel on its own or come into the education section. There's a whole transportation section, and Bob's out for Thursday and Friday. So Diane, I may need a little help from you since you used to be on the transportation committee to help with those pieces at the end. And we vote yesterday to take the 5 million and the 6 million and keep those general fund dollars. The IT, Marty, can you explain to the committee where we are on that 1.2 million for the motor vehicles IT? It was incorrectly by the administration, which caused some confusion on our end. Do you want to explain that, what happened?
Yes, it was posted. it's listed in the B1100 special one-time money that we're all familiar with, where it's a transfer from the general fund. It says a transfer of 1.2 million from the general fund to Department of Motor Vehicles for an IT modernization project. It should have said to ADS for a modernization project. The intent is to use it for a DMV use. However, the money was supposed to go to ADS because they've already been working on some DMV modernization issues. And this was an amount of money that they could use to put in a small portion of what DMV needs ultimately. And there may be some little bits left over, which then ADS could also use for some very small DM uses or others. But the confusion came in, and you'll recall that when Adam came to see us originally, he listed 14 million that had been set, that the governor had intentionally put into the general fund. It was called his initiatives, and it was a total of 14 million, including the 6 for transportation that Kitty just mentioned. But one of those was a 1.2 million, and it said directly to ADS for IT modernization. So that's the same 1.2 million that shows up in 1100. But in the Agency of Transportation, in their internal crosswalks on the DMV line, they had also included 1.2 million as if it were an appropriation directly from the general fund to DMV to use for the modernization efforts. And so it made the total, it made the totals on the AOT crosswalk higher than they should be, because it made it look as if it were money for directly for AOT for the DMV division. But those numbers, that increase did not get translated to the web report, which is, of course, our controlling document. So the web report numbers are correct, and the language is correct, except that it should say the money's going to ADS instead of DMV. My concern was that since it showed up in the AOT crosswalk, that internally somebody at AOT is thinking they had 1.2 million more than they have. And I'm sure they have since corrected that and figured that out. But so at first I thought it was double, but it's not. Unfortunately,
we had our hopes so high.
Yeah, I did too.
I know, I was excited, but Maria helped me figure out that no, it's not double because it never showed up in the web report, even though it was in their crosswalk. So it's a legitimate expense, or it's a legitimate request, let me put it that way. But it would go to ADS as opposed to DMV. And I'm getting some more information on exactly what the project is, so we know that. But it's something they've been looking at for a long time, and it's been vetted, and ADS believes it's reasonable, and all of those kinds of things. It's for automatic. It's for issuing stickers at DMV.
And you are going to you're going to work also with energy and technology, the committee around the corner. You'll make sure that they weigh in on that proposal. That they're comfortable with the IT project and that it's been vetted, please.
So,
Okay.
Kitty, it poses a whole new thought. Am I? Yeah.
You're on.
Whole new thought. Sorry. If something, how can something be in the crosswalk and then not make it into the web report? That's concerning to me. Then Maria's busy, but I don't.
Well, that's what concerned me, Diane.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
That is, it's a good question. You're right. It's a little bit odd, but the good news is that the web report is correct. And that's, what you generally base your decisions on. So, that was just a mistake they made. I don't know,
It's just an error, and we caught it, and so that's good. But I liked Marty's scenario that maybe we had duplicated money and had found some, but that didn't come to fruition. All right, so that one is traveling, and we know to talk with the Committee of Jurisdiction about that. And Mary, your hand was up. Did you have a question? No, okay. So what I would, so we're really pushing hard, and just be really thoughtful how hard we push the policy committees. They're working on bills and CRF, but we Thursday, Wednesday, they know is really the date that we need to have all this information, if possible. And if you're told I can't have the CRF until the following week, come and see me. And then I'll figure out how we're going to work out any straggling pieces that don't quite make the budget timeline.
Kitty,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim.
I think my internet's not very good. I missed a little bit of what you said. Did you say Wednesday is the day that the committees have to have us, their decisions and their memo?
Yeah, if we can get them before that, that would be wonderful. But by Wednesday, because we're going to need a couple of days to put this whole budget together. And we may have a late day on Friday, like we did that last Friday that we worked. But Wednesday is the target date, because if they come in at 4 o'clock on Thursday, then it's just it's a lot of decision making to be made at once.
And what was the thing you said about CRF at the end?
CRF will fall into the budget, and so if committees haven't made some final decisions on CRF, just come to me and I will figure it out with the speaker how we're going to move any pieces that just haven't been decided upon.
Okay, thank you.
I just don't want, a conflict with, one committee can't trump another committee's work or tell them to work harder and faster. Everyone's working as hard and fast as they can. And so we need to be really respectful of the load that we put on other policy committees. Diane?
So thank you, Kitty. Well, I know that they're just getting back and getting their feet under them, and we're ready to somewhat take off. But it would be so helpful if we had an idea, and I don't know if this has been formulated, hasn't been yet. How are we going to report this bill on the floor? Because like the time over the weekend that we have the moment is going to be devoted to prepping so that we can start to write what it is we need to do, and how are we going to bring that about. You don't have to answer that now. That's something that maybe before we leave on Friday, to get a clue so we can be ready, spend some time getting ready.
One thing I am going to suggest to the committee is where there's no change over the governor's recommend, that we don't even do section 805, blah, 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 no change over the governor's recommend, because once we all do that with all of our budgets, that's probably another half an hour. And so I think that I will make in my opening remarks, if there's no change over the governor's recommend in January, that we will highlight all of the moving pieces that are in this budget. And then if somebody has a question, if it's a huge initiative, that we're talking about that. But if we've just increased salaries and benefits and the internal service funds, we're not going to go in every budget. This is the 3%. This is the 5%. We're going to do the substantive change.
Right. So I may know that, and we may know that when we look at the line item, taking it from the perspective of the audience, that they will have in front of them this bill. How will they know that? You know what I mean? So they'll think we're missing and not reporting something. You know what I mean? So I just want to give that some really good thought, because it's going to be hard for them to digest.
If we're not reporting it and they have a question and they bring it up, these are the only moving pieces in these budgets are the 5% for ISF, the 3% targets that did not, impact policy and programs, and the natural increases in salaries and benefits, and leave it at that.
Kitty?
Yes.
Yeah, Maida, with regard to that, I don't know if you saw Mary put a thing in the chat box, a reminder that to have a caucus of the whole in which questions can be asked beforehand.
Yeah, the speaker's doing that with all bills, like the one that is coming out of Human Services regarding childcare. That one's going to be on the agenda, I think, either today, yeah, it's today. And so I think that that's the practice with all bills, but absolutely we need to check to make sure that we do that run through first. Marty?
Yes, I think it's important, though. I think Diane's point was very important because our audience is not comparing the governor's 21 to the restated 21, because they never got a presentation of the governor's 21. Our audience is comparing FY20 to a now 21. And I agree, very minor things don't need to be mentioned, but if there were some major changes that were suggested for FY21 as opposed to 20, and are still being carried through, I think those need to be mentioned, not just
Absolutely.
the simple 3% and 5% cuts.
Right. I agree that any major initiative, any major change in January or in August or in June, if there's a change between June and August, those have to be fully related on the floor. The budgets where nothing was really moving at all, other than those natural changes that happen with salary and the 3% and 5%, those are the ones that I don't think we have to list line by line by line.
Right, but there were new things in 21 as opposed to 20 that I think need to be highlighted. And our audience never got a presentation of an FY21 budget in March to compare it to 20.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
It just, okay.
Yep, I agree with you. I absolutely agree. I just don't think we have to repeat with every budget. It reflects the 5%. It reflects the, I will do that in my opening remarks so that we don't hear that same message with every budget.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, that's not my presentation.
Kitty?
Committee. Dave?
Yeah, what I've found helpful to me in trying to imagine explaining this to someone who's not close to it, the AHS secretary, Mike Smith, when he came in, gave us a nice sheet of all the changes in AHS. It's one page. It's a lot. But, and my point, what I'm trying to get to, in the areas that I have responsibility for, the secretary's office and DIVA, there's 6 increases. Members and audience, here's what they do. There's 8 decreases. Members and audience, let me explain them to you. That, to me, I think, while it's complicated, is easier to follow than me saying in section 301, and I give them 3/4 of it. Now in section 302, 303, which is the mixing bowl, 304 is state-only Medicaid. It's sequentially, it's very hard to present, very hard to follow. Whereas I think the substance of it is, here are their increases, here are their downs. We've looked at them. We think they're reasonable or not. But so I could imagine doing that, saying, members, I'm going to cover sections 301 to 7 in their entirety. But I'm not gonna break it up section by section. I think I'll put everybody to sleep.
Yep, can
you help me with that?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to do it. And then if somebody pulls out something within a section, you just answer the question. And I think DCF would be a good way to handle that, instead of, you can say the DCF budgets are all within these areas. Here are the moving pieces within, and not, not jump around to the areas. I think that would be.
I love it. I love it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want
think
to
that
second
also-
that too.
It also avoids the situation, now I want to yield to the member from wherever and they yield back to me, just because it gets rid of all that stuff. It helps minimize it.
Yep, and we'll have to figure out the yielding part, because we're still going to have to move from member to member. But you're right. If over the weekend you think about the chunks you want to do, we can start determining, who goes when and the yielding piece. Thank you, Dave. We also may have some committee chairs or member, from policy committees reporting in pieces of the budget, depending on, if there's language from education. Chip, you may want to do it, or you may want to have Kate do it. You would decide then if you want to take on those pieces, or if the work was all done in the policy committee and it's in language, if you want them to report on it. I would leave that up to you to determine which you wanted. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready to start doing I'd like to close out a few more pieces. I did want to talk quickly about the Vermont State Colleges. There's a lot of work happening right now with the Vermont State Colleges, working with the Joint Fiscal Office to determine true COVID-related expenses so that we know the amount of money that we need to find in the budget. So the total is, 23.8 or 6, Peter, one of those numbers.
8.
Thank you. And once we know what are truly COVID related, then we will work on identifying a funding source to be sure that we fully fund the commitment to the state colleges. So there's that commitment there. There's work being done. If you have any questions, just talk to me offline, or we can put them through to Maria. But first, we've got to find out what is COVID related. Okay, let's go back to, we did so much web report yesterday. Let's go back to the language and see if there's any pieces in the language that were left open. And I'm not going to go through it line by line. Does any one of you have any language that you can close, or new language that you know is coming that we need to be waiting for that you haven't told us about? Is there any language we can close?
You mean new language or?
Well,
We left a lot of sections with without check marks being closed, being shelved. And so I'm wondering, Ways and Means will look at all the auditor pieces and the anything related to tax on Friday. So we'll get a memo from them. I'm hoping by Friday afternoon we can close those out. But are there any other areas that within your budgets that we can address and close out at this time?
I think Chip has one.
Yeah,
Yep,
and
you got
I
one?
can't remember exactly what number it's on. So the,
It's on page 36.
thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Diane.
I was looking in the entire wrong section. Let's see, the E503, the Independence Place program has been designated in budgets for a few years as a 24-hour residential program in order for them to get education reimbursement. That program no longer exists at Lund. I've had that confirmed with somebody from Lund, but they are still eligible to get education reimbursement because they are a PNMI. They're 24-hour, I forgot what it's called, but anyway, they have another program that is PNMI, and so they are able to get the reimbursement. So there's no real need for this language any longer in the budget. I've been clear with them that our intent is to take it out if that's the case, and they don't have any problem with it. So I would recommend that we just remove this from the budget.
Any questions for Chip on that language? Okay, Mary.
Sorry, I'm not fast enough with my hand. Not a question, but just a thought that you may want to touch base with Barbara Rachelson, who is I don't know if she'll notice that it's missing, but if she is, she'll have a question about it, unless she's already knows about it.
Nice point. I'll do that.
And you did check with, did you check with Lund, Chip?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So please, if you would circle around with Barbara, that would eliminate questions on the floor. And we can always come back to this if there's concerns that we need to hear. But if you agree with Chip to remove this language, can I just see a quick show of hands? Okay. Thank you. Are there any other pieces that we can do? Does anyone have anything else we can do? Okay, then I'm going to put the language away and let's go back to the web report and see if there's some areas there. We did get a memo from the
Kitty,
comments.
excuse
Yes.
me for interrupting, but I'm going to bounce out to talk to corrections now. But on the auditor, which is B130, I couldn't recall what I knew, which is that we need to give them spending authority for the position that we approved previously. So that's one we can close and move on from.
Wait, is that language?
No, it's in the web report. B1.
Okay, what page is that on? What?
Oh, I don't know. B130. It's near the front.
You can just find it.
Yeah. Excuse me for throwing off the rhythm, but I just
No, you're good.
a little one. And
No, as many as we can take off, we don't have to go back to, so.
looks like it must be
Page 20, page 20
oh,
is
page 10 on my
E130.
B130.
Oh,
in the web-
B130.
In the web report, it's on page 10.
Yeah, no, I don't have that open.
And Mary, you had mentioned transferring money from the SERF.
Yeah, so Maria, we need to give them spending authority. So I think do we need to increase that under the special fund?
Okay, my understanding, we got an email yesterday. I think I forwarded, I believe that they were okay
Yes.
with what the governor had recommended in this restatement. That's my understanding. Let me,
I thought we needed to give them spending authority.
okay, I just need to, I just need to check on this again because maybe I misunderstood. Let's see.
I went back and your email said you were right, spending authority, but maybe there was something after that. Sorry, guys, I thought we had this one down.
Okay, they say that they're okay with keeping one position vacant for fiscal 21.
So that's how they're paying for it.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, we can close it.
Thank you. Kimberly, I'm wondering if on page 2, in the Secretary of Administration, General Liability Insurance and all other insurances, there are very minor changes probably within the ISF funds, those 5% targets. Are those two that you think would,
Right. Are you on back to web, Kitty?
I'm on the web report. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Page
Yeah.
2.
Yeah,
We
hold on. Yeah.
did a couple of those yesterday. The all other insurances did go up a bit by $6,000 or $5,900. And the internal service fund reduction, the 5%, I think are the pushes or the pressure in 103.
Right. I'm sorry. Which section of the, I know the page number, but my pages, when I scroll, aren't, you're in B300?
No, I'm on B 103 and 104. I see, I have a paper copy, so I'm sorry if you guys haven't received yours in the mail.
Right. No, they're looking over those are both fine and those can both be closed, B103 and B104.
Thank you. I thought they're mostly just the IFS changes. Okay, any other in the web report that were left open?
Hey,
I hear a kitty, but Chip?
yeah, I was in a different committee the other day when you all were doing the section, so I assume that you skipped over my sections of the protection, the B200s.
Probably. Let's go there, Chip.
So, the B201 court diversion, we obviously heard from them yesterday. They can weather the 3% reduction with their carry forward, but we heard about their need for us to find general fund to offset the loss of revenue. So I don't know if you want to shelve this with that in mind, that we're still working on that, but that's the only issue there.
Okay,
It's the
so,
162, right? 162?
so Chip, the 162 would be ongoing money, is that correct?
Well, I mean, I think it's actually appropriate for one-time money because nobody knows what's going to happen next year, but as the court system begins to operate again, there may be more cases going to diversion. So their
Money.
fee revenue will increase, and so they may be okay next year. So this seems
Okay.
appropriate for one
So,
time.
for one time, and then I do have the AG position, which is moving the 7% down to 4, Diane? What is it?
Yeah, it's it's the B200. It's on the page just before the court
Yeah.
diversion. And that's 158,519.
7% to 4%. My question is, does it have to go to 4 if we don't have the funds, but we have a?
No, I would imagine that any help in this relief, I'm not too sure if they can fill the position, but I'm sure anything in this area would be helpful to move it from 7% down.
Okay, and so my question, I have those two pieces on the request list, but other than that, the moving pieces in those two budgets, I think can close. I mean, all the other pieces, can we close those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For mine, yeah.
Yeah.
So continuing on, the Defender General B202 and 203, I actually would like to leave that open. I hope I can close it later today, but for the moment, just leave it open. B204 Judiciary, they are unhappy, particularly about the reversion because largely because they were hoping to keep that money for the Title 4D issue.
Chip,
Yeah.
can I interrupt just for a minute? I have to run outside for a minute. Someone is here. So Peter, you have the committee, Mary's gone, and I'll be back in just a minute.
Very good.
Okay, Chip. Yeah, so like I say, what they had hoped to hold on to the money that was reverted in order to have a cushion for if the Title 4D issue in which the Department of Justice has said that they can't claim reimbursement for certain things. They're working on that. Nobody knows exactly how it's going to come out.
Chip, would you please remind us what that issue is?
Yeah,
Briefly.
so and I may not be able to remind you particularly well at the moment without going back to review my notes. So that the courts can get reimbursed, federal reimbursement for certain expenses, and what the program. I'm drawing a blank for the moment on what the program gets reimbursed for, and it works in conjunction with another program in, I don't know if it's DCF or.
Isn't that child support?
Yeah, it has to do with child support, right? There you go. I can come back with the details. I knew them before and I've forgotten them over the summer.
I understand.
But in any case, so that's being worked out. Nobody knows exactly how much the state is going to owe. They're hoping it will turn out to be not particularly expensive, but the money that they had held in reserve to make sure they could pay that was reverted in the governor's budget. I've talked to Steve Klein about this. He and I agree that that given our present situation, it's probably best to revert the money to be able to use it in the general fund, not knowing what the outcome is going to be, but hoping for a good outcome. But if not, then we'll deal with it at the time. And that's certainly going to be in the next fiscal year at least, and perhaps later than that.
Okay, that was my next question. The timing of this could be beyond the FY21 budget.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Okay.
And
certainly, I would agree with you, considering that because we don't know when it might land, that we address it when it does land, and we don't know how much it's going to be. So because it's a question mark and a question mark, let's address it when it does occur. And so then, do you have a recommendation here?
I would recommend that we shelve the judiciary budget. That was the big issue that I know of. I do need to say that the legislature, the state of Vermont, will have to come up with that money at the time.
Sure.
I mean, and we can't ask the judiciary to find it in their budget. I mean, that is something that they are close to the bone, and they will need to. That money will have to come from somewhere outside of their funding, their general fund.
Okay. So can I get a show of committee hands, because this was a little more sticky? All those who agree with shelving this? We're good. Thank you.
So, Peter, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
by raising my hand, I'm also acknowledging, and Chip, thank you for bringing that back. I remember the whole conversation a year ago, how incredibly scary it was at the potential of the scope of what we might have had to be in jeopardy of needing to have to pay back because of the situation with the child support. So, so by raising my hand, I'm also recognizing that this will come back, and that we can't later on when they need it go, oh, I had no idea. I have an idea.
And certainly the intent of this committee is
Yes.
that we will address the issue when it gets here, and certainly
Yeah.
we're not gonna allow the judiciary to be gutted because we're going to tell them that they're going to have to find this money from their own budget. So I would agree that is the intent of this committee, and I'm saying it that way to make sure that it's lives on into perpetuity.
Good. Thank you both for doing that. I know that will give some comfort to the judiciary.
Peter,
Yes.
I just want to ask Chip, if I didn't hear, did you do shelve 202 and 203? The Defender?
No, I said
No.
I hope I might be able to do that later today, but not.
Okay.
yet.
Okay. I
Um,
thought maybe I was in La La Land somewhere where you talked about that. Okay.
So I
and
don't
then-
know if we have 205 and 206 still open.
Yeah.
207.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and I'm going to recommend that we shelve all of those. I'm waiting for just a little bit more information, but I don't expect anything. I don't expect that there's going to be any problem. They are not happy about, as no one is, but finding a way to deal with the 3% reduction. I will say that I've talked to Kitty, and I can't remember if I've talked to the rest of the committee about the state's attorneys have applied for a grant to provide funding for a domestic violence prosecutor and investigators. It was something that it's been an ongoing issue. We were intending to not fund, but hold positions open in case they could get this grant. They did get it. But the feds require that the state have a matching statute to a piece of federal legislation. Our committees of jurisdiction don't believe it's good policy and are not going to pass that statute. So that means that there will be a 5% reduction in the grant, which amounts to $37,500 over a 3-year period. I've told Kitty that that's on my list of things that I am looking for one-time general funds to sort of make that whole so they can fully fund those positions.
Yep.
But outside of that, I think we can close those.
205, 206. Do you have 207 as well?
They're all, all state's attorneys and
Okay.
sheriffs, includes the SIUs.
Okay. With the state's attorneys, 205, the 37,000.
Yeah.
537,600.
37.5, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's it from my sections in there.
Okay. I'm wondering if we could ask Kimberly to just talk through the sections in the Agency of Human Services that she has with, I mean, if you're not prepared to make a recommendation, that's fine. But at least if you're talking through them and we have any final questions, we're not asking, we're not asking the easy questions. We're only asking major concerns. It'll continue to move us forward.
No, that'd be great. Again, apologies that I was not able to be here yesterday and
We're
I'm not
doing great stuff. yesterday. You were
I
doing
know, I
things
did.
that, you
I
know,
need
you were
to
doing things
rewatch
that
the
we all
Zoom.
have done, and we wish that we were still doing, because that would mean there would be less gray in my hair, and you know, and more of a twinkle still in my eye. But you know, that's okay. So please.
Well, I still think you have a twinkle, Peter.
Thank you.
So again, and apologies if you already covered this. B300, the issue that came up was about the council. And the situation was that there was a turnover. The AHS General Counsel had served a dual role with the attorney in the Attorney General's office, and that position used to reside, therefore, in the Attorney General's budget and org chart. The incumbent left this position and is serving elsewhere in state government, and so the AG's office recruited and filled that vacant position without the intention of it serving that dual role as it had. So the new employee, and this kind of gets back to yesterday's discussion in the afternoon about vacancies in the AG's office to some degree, that new employee now only serves in the AG's office. So then what happened is AHS went to the position pool. They pulled out and received approval to do a general counsel position, and that has been filled. And the other elimination in that is there was apparently another person who was a limited service position, and they were focused on large scale IT projects. And that position was eliminated because those projects, as I understand it, are now moved into the departments. So when you see those downs in general funds, that is the narrative behind that. And there is, and I'd have to take a minute to scroll back. I believe there might have been an assistant position mixed into that down, but I'd have to clarify if we want to go that deeply into the detail.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that.
Okay, so the
the
upshot of all of that rambling is that I think that this is fine.
Okay.
And my recommendation would be to shelve it unless we hear otherwise, some concern.
Kimberly, can you tell me what number we're on just so I can get caught up?
Yep,
300,
that is
Teddy.
B300.
Thank you.
D or B?
B
is in
like
B as in
boy.
David?
B is in boy.
Okay.
It's in boy,
What
right?
pages? I'm looking
as in
for that.
boy.
I'm sorry.
Page 3 of 30 of the AHS ups and downs is what I'm going off of.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the language now. You're on the ups and downs.
It's page
Yeah,
30.
I'm just, the reason I'm using words so much is that I reached out to Sarah Clark to try to get more of a narrative to explain what was happening behind those numbers, because we had had questions about the general counsel.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that just shifting around.
That's 70,000, right?
I do.
Right, and
I
then.
do. I'm glad. Okay, so.
So Kimberly, oh, go ahead, Dave.
So there's no language. I'm sorry, there's, Kimberly, there's no language that goes with it.
Not
correct?
that I
This is
can
just
recall. Yeah,
Section. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were, I apologize. I thought we were into the language. So I was just looking for it because, and I'm happy to have you cover this, Kimberly. Minutes ago, I just sent Sarah Clark an email. Hey, can you give me some talking points on this general counsel thing? Because I thought I was presenting it, and that's so your explanation was really helpful. But just let me know
add a
if
little
you want me
something
to cover it or not.
to that,
Oh.
because the Attorney General's office, I talked to them about this because that position was within their whatever the, it's it
Yeah.
was stationed within AHS, just to check in to see what their maybe input might have on us, and they were totally fine with it. The person was half time or was in their office, in the AHS office all the time anyway, and so the Attorney General's office is very, very comfortable with having this attorney be totally within the Secretary of AHS's office. So we've covered all their bases, I think.
Well, they would be. It's coming out of the position pool and it's not their money.
Right.
No, I'm just teasing.
No.
Okay. Forgive me.
Yeah, it helps them.
So Kimberly, on B300, it includes Springfield Hospital, which the committee across the hall will weigh in on. But other than that, we're going to close it out unless there's some other piece. Okay.
Yes.
So Tip, I'm just catching up. Thank you, Peter. You shelved 304. You shelved a lot.
204.
204, 5, 6, and 7, right?
Yes.
Okay. Kimberly, where would you like to move to now? Or is there anywhere you're muted?
I'm
Kimberly?
sorry. If we want to pop down to, again, apologies, I don't know what you covered yesterday. I just haven't caught up on all my Zooming. If for the DCF language, if we want to pop down there,
Ooh, are we ready to do anything down there? Yes.
no, well, I'll just let you know that there are a lot of things that still need to be kept open. So I don't.
Yeah, let's walk through that, Kimberly, because the committee needs to know all these moving pieces. So
Right. Okay. So if we pop down to B316, and again, I'm working off page 14 of the AHS ups and downs.
okay, and it's
And
our web reports if people are looking. Okay, let's.
and so on that one, this is where I think there are some things that are fine in there. For example, the delaying of the implementation of the elderly simplified application efficiencies, and we've covered that. The problem, I think, in terms of there being differing viewpoints, concerns moving staff from CDD to ESD. There are some concerns about how we're handling CCFAP, and I would like to wait until we get something official from Human Services. And I think that many of us are hearing from community providers. Chip and I have had a discussion, others of us have had discussions kind of parallel to this, that we're hearing that there are some problems there. So I would just flag that as something that needs our attention. I think the TANF 5-year thing is fine. As we heard, it's just a reflection of an updating of where the money flows. There are other issues around Reach Up, but I'm going to put those aside for the moment. Those concern, those muddy a bit into CRF dollars. And so B316, again, I'm waiting on the policy committee just to be respectful of everybody's expertise. So B317, again, I would like to keep that open for the moment as well. And then there is apparently some discussion downstairs, proverbially speaking, with corrections that Peter flagged the other day. And I just, Mary and I and Peter will get on the same page about that once we get clarification. I believe they're meeting this morning. So B318, and again, sorry that these are all still open, but it's just the rhythm that we're working with here. B318 should stay open as well. Again, it relates back to the childcare issues. The one thing that is in there, and this was in language, I'd have to flip around back to my language, but the childcare transportation that is going to be delayed. And so you saw that there was a removal of that from the January language. However, you'll see that on page 16 of the HS ups and downs, you'll see that that is put back in as one-time money. And there have been some queries about, well, what does this mean for the future? And my feeling is that we've covered that for now. There are a heck of a lot of moving parts around childcare right now. There's some parallel action happening in the world of CRF dollars. And so I'm pleased to see that in there as one-time dollars at this point in time.
Can Can I just
Yeah.
ask a question? And so there was a new initiative with the childcare transportation to do a whole system-wide that was delayed. So does this one time just keep us at status quo until, thank you, until,
Exactly.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's effectively bridge funding. So let's keep that open because it does get into, again, those shifts about who handles some of the childcare activity. The Office of Child Support, my preliminary discussions about the, is that this should not be a problem, but again, my preference would be to just respect the policy process and get the official okay for that. B320, that is very straightforward. I think I would offer that may be shelved unless others have concerns or questions that I need to track down.
I don't see any, so let's shelve 320.
Okay, and B321, my initial inclination would be that that could also be shelved because we are delaying that emergency housing initiative. If there is something else that comes through, I will circle back, but there are an awful lot of moving parts right now. In part, and again, I don't want to mix apples and oranges of the budget discussion with the CRF dollars, but there are some parallel processes at work there.
And Kimberly, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to remind the committee by keeping this as it is, it's doing the one-year extension that the Committee of Jurisdiction had asked for in March. And so I'm very confident, I hope Kimberly, you're confident that they're going
Yes.
to their March decision. Thank you.
Yes. So I think it's, again, we can wait and hear, but I think I would be highly surprised if we do anything other than shelve that. I don't expect any issues there.
Thank you. We can always open it back up. So that's good. All right. 322.
322. I don't see anything that catches my eye there. I would say that we can shelve that unless, and if I hear something to the contrary, I will circle back again, being mindful of not muddling funding streams. There's been a great deal of good work done in the on the part of those working with food supply to families in need, and so I think that is probably okay. So
Okay.
we can tentatively shelve that, and if I hear something to the contrary, revisit it.
Thank you.
The reach up, that needs to stay open. There's some potential issues around that. And B324, the LIHEAP, that can, I believe, be shelved. I did hear Mary this morning make reference to questions about the swap, and I can't honestly pull up from my memory right now. I thought we had kind of put some of those to rest in March, but I would say that we could tentatively go ahead and shelve that, the swap issue. If she circles back with particular language that she wants to do, I'm happy to go there. I just can't pull it up. I'm sorry right now.
Yeah, and we talked about it yesterday, and if something, she'll bring it to our attention, but let's shelve it then.
Okay. And the next one, the Office of Economic Opportunity, that one should be fine as well, although again,
There were two positions here back in March.
Yeah, let's, you know what, Katie, before I say on the record here something that I might get wrong and muddled, I'd like to just leave that open for the moment so that I don't misspeak. And then
Woodside, there's moving pieces with Woodside.
there's moving pieces, yeah.
Weatherization.
Where's weatherization, Peter?
Above Woodside.
Oh, no, we missed that at the bottom, yeah.
All right, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that one is fine. My
all.
recommendation would
Thank
be to
you.
go ahead and shelve that.
We missed that at the bottom.
And then the-
Disability.
Yes, my recommendation would be we could shelve that as well.
Okay. So really the pieces that are left open, other than some, and I don't want to say just left open, but whether the committee down the hall will accept the proposal to close Woodside and then to do the plan to reopen at a new location with different programming. Is that correct, Kimberly? That's
Yeah, yeah, Kitty, and I think there may be an additional wrinkle in play yet. So, yeah.
And then the CCFAP, doing the big childcare pieces, and you did mention a couple pieces within Reach Up. Those are not just, those are all big issues, but at least them kind of corralled in our minds. Thank you, Kimberly. That brought us through several more pieces.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything on the crosswalk that they were looking at yesterday that we could close out?
I had a question, if I may, Kitty.
Yeah.
Question for Kimberly. Kimberly, I don't have that section of the crosswalk right in front of me, but DCF had a proposed reduction down. They said reduce CDD third-party contracts, 180,000 state funds. I can't see if there's any federal funds. Do we know which contracts those are? All of us here might want to, we'd hate to pass the bill and then get a phone call from a local contractor that they just got eliminated or reduced. And do we have that detail?
You know what? Thanks, Dave. We do not,
we get
although
it
I can
from
tell
DCF?
you that I think this kind of gets to some of what Mary flagged earlier about nonprofits and cutting of, some of their efforts. I put out an inquiry about that to find out more, and I have not heard back yet, but I will share that as soon as I do. Yeah, there's been, it
Yeah,
appears.
if it's just a broad,
Sorry.
thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Yep.
Okay.
So I think we can now move to 52. That's where we left off. And let's see if we can finish up this language. And then Diane, you and I will sit down and connect back with Bob and make a plan for the transportation pieces.
Sure.
Just so we get information, I want to make, I asked Diane Bothfeld, but of course Marie is laid on top of things too. Yesterday, we had a question about working lands because only the base is reflected here. In one bill, we put in 2.5 million, and then another, we put in $1 million. So there's $3.5 million that is going out in working lands projects. That I just wanted to make sure that when there was some question about, yeah, we did something, but we weren't how much, it was three.
What did you do? Yeah.
And I don't know, in 1 year, Chip, have we ever put out $3.5 million in projects before?
No.
Usually we do the base funding at 5 and then
$1 million, maybe. Yeah.
the highest we ever did was 1.5 total when we first started, I believe. And then it's always been kind of a one-time wavering amount in between. Is that correct, Chip?
Yeah, so what it was last year, I think our committee added $1 million to the base, which is 594.
Wait,
And that's the highest that I remember.
we added $1 million to the base?
Well, no, we didn't add, sorry. We added one-time money over the base of
Over the base,
594.
right.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, this is different. I mean, the CRF funding is, has the limitations that it has. So it's not doing the same work that putting money straight into working lands does. On the other hand, I think it's great that we were able to get that much CRF funding into the hands of people in those kinds of agricultural endeavors. So, it's, if we had money, general fund money, I would be looking to put some of it into working lands for the regular kinds of projects they do. But we're in a year where that seems to me not really to be in the cards. I would have stood up tall and yelled if they had cut the base, because I think that base is the minimum that's needed to keep that program running. So, but that's the way I'm looking at it this year. I expect you all who are back next year to bring that funding right back up to $1.5 billion level.
It's the same thing for micro business. They've got, but they're, having their base be there for their continuum of services is important, which is why, I was very pleased to see that they did not cut the base of working lands, that they kept the 594, which needs to go forward. And I'm hoping we can do the same with others.
Okay, let's go to page 52 with commerce and community development. Can you, Teresa, we received an email from Representative Kimball. Can you put that up? And it may help us close out some of these sections, Linda, and it may ask more questions that we want you to bring back to the committee.
Just be advised, it is an email.
Are you in web or language?
We're in web.
I'm in web. I'm all, yep, in web. And probably let's, it wasn't a personal email. I hope it was a Ledge account, because I don't like to put too, can you
Well,
copy,
that's what I'm double checking.
okay, copy and paste maybe just the content? I don't know how hard that is to
Hang
do.
on. I got a few screens open here. Let's see. No, it looks, well, he's got his cell on there. Let me just forward this email and resave it, because I don't want it to be a problem.
Can I ask Kimberly a question while we're waiting?
Yep.
So, Kimberly, Meals on Wheels. I've got a note here, and I know we heard something about it way back when, and I'm trying to figure out, is it in my budget? Is it in your budget? What was the action?
My memory, and again, I stand to be corrected, Diane, I think it is in yours, because it doesn't come out of the area agencies on aging?
Okay.
Would they get, or aren't they just the funnel for the federal dollars?
Something, yeah. So I was trying to figure out, or what did we hear back? What did they increase it? Did they do something with it? And so I've got a big question on it.
You know what? There was some money, again, I'm totally going on memory here, so I stand to be corrected, but I want to say that there was a plus up that was included in 965, which was one of the CRF spending bills. So it was a parallel plus up.
Oh yeah, there was that. I just in this realm here, was there anything that we heard in this restated budget? I don't know. And
okay, do you want me to check on that?
No, I was just wondering I was just picking your brain. It's a good brain.
That's a pretty scary place at the moment. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, take that off of yours. I'll just continue. I was just wondering if maybe if there was something that you could add to my question of where to find out what happened. Oh, there we go. There is Mr. Kimball.
Okay, here we go. So I have a little bit of question. I'm not sure they look too much at the budget items, but they looked more at some one-time expenditures that are not included in other bills. And I think that we are seeing that with bills that may pass that we have to fund, and the Vermont State Colleges, that when we're looking at some of these larger numbers, some of these may have happened. And Peter, can you tell me, let's go down through them because yours, Peter, are down below, but the technology-based economic development, Marty, that $1 million in DED, was that, Marty, was that one you were following? And who was in the Department of Economic?
No.
Who was-
As I recall, it was a commerce issue and they just wanted $1 million to go to that department. And it was to support businesses that were involved in the technology arena.
So,
This
yes,
is not activity from the government. I thought it was to support grants that were going out to technology-based businesses to either help them expand within the state or attract them to the state or something along those lines.
Mhm.
That wasn't anything ADS was involved with.
And so this, I mean, this would definitely reduce funding to the state colleges, which seems to be the highest commitment we have at this time for one-time money. So, I mean, we can have this on our burner, but the regional planning commissions and CRF dollars, did the RPCs receive, I believe, didn't we address some money for municipal planning grants and the RPCs in
966? There was a specific purpose
Yes.
that they had, or was it in the municipal planning, for,
It
But-
wasn't for municipal planning.
it was,
These monies here are from housing and community development by way of VHCB, I believe. This is the 150 and 150, I'm pretty sure, is the standard amount of money that typically goes to those two groups. Plus,
Well,
perhaps, plus VHCB. What we put in the CRF money was additional money for municipalities.
Yeah.
With some assistance from regions as well for, specific CRF needs like cleaning and building
Yeah.
renovations and, changing doors and things like that. That was
And
the municipal.
And also money with the municipalities to move their records to technology.
digital.
Right, right. There was a digitization.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But that's not long-term planning, which is what this,
Right.
this 150 and 150 is, are standard expenditures geared at, helping communities with planning commissions and development review and planning for, long-term things.
Okay.
So I think the question, yeah,
And then
Yeah,
there
I
was,
don't know what they're asking.
were
Are they
those,
yeah,
Is this happening, or are they asking, did it happen?
Well,
Are
they're
they asking, we'd
they're
like it
asking-
to happen?
they say that may not be included in other bills, and these are some of the things that they had supported back in March.
Well, the New Americans Initiative, that was in a bill, if they're talking about CRF funds.
Right, they're not just talking about CRF.
Yeah, that's what they're all
Well,
over the board.
They know that some of these initiatives moved in June in CRF and CARES funding, but if they didn't, these are things that they're still interested in. But the Vermont Housing Incentive Program, that would come through initiatives through Tom's committee that have been working on initiatives. Advancement grants. We
Who's
did-
this from, Kitty? Who's this letter from?
Charlie Kimball.
Oh, there we go. Okay, House Commerce and.
Yeah.
So Kitty,
many of these items are in the governor's one-time list, his original FY21
Right.
budget.
Right, and these are, which he has taken off the table, but some of them are addressed. So
Kitty,
Peter?
regarding the advancement grants, it was in the $5.1 million of CRF money that we sent to VSAC. It's rather undersubscribed right now, but they're going to work on on that with a campaign to draw people in.
Okay, so thank you, Peter. So the New Americans initiatives, Linda, and the advancement grants were taken care of in other bills. There was money going out to the municipalities, but not for exactly this purpose.
Okay, yeah,
We took the recommendations for CRF money for housing initiatives from the Committee of Jurisdiction. And so Dave, would you just check to see if a program similar to this housing incentive program, I think that was money. Wasn't it to rehab houses? I'm just trying to. It was
Yes, it
Yes.
was.
low income rehabbing houses.
Yes,
Right.
made it available to landlords to.
Right.
And your question is, Kitty?
Will you ask Tom where that landed with their committee, that specific program? And
I sure will.
but what I see here, I see things that they would like us to fund
consider.
has now taken off the table.
Right.
What I don't see is where they've weighed in on sections of the budget. So I think these are some pieces that we can go through.
So-
Agency of Commerce and Community Development. I think we can walk through some of these pieces and compare that we know that the policies and the programs have not been cut, but I think it's mostly in the 3% and 5%. So that's where
So-
we need to be right now.
So
Diane.
Kitty, I've got a little bit of it's coming to terms. When I look at the original language, you're right. These were items that on those one-time list of the governor's 23 million spend. These are items, and when I've got next to one of them was, commerce highly supports. So these were things that are now out
Right.
on that page 3 of the language
Language,
that
yes.
that they had weighed in on. And so are they asking us if it's somewhere else because they might know that they're not?
Well, they did
They're
ask.
They're
Linda,
asking, I'm sorry, Kitty, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Linda.
They're asking us if that they realize that it was taken out. They would like for us to find some way to get it back in again. Okay. And I will tell you that they are meeting at 12:30 today with David, their writer, and they are also meeting with the Commerce Committee, and we will be off at that time, and I will be going there for that to hear what they're specifically talking about with them. But this is what I just sent them a note that said, what are you specifically interested in? This is what they sent back to us.
Okay. So if I took this document, Linda, and then compared to it looks like they're coming back. So they've got about $3 million worth the one-time asks.
Yes.
Okay.
And
But it rolls through all various, housing and all,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
I
Take
just.
the VSAC off.
You take the VSAC off, you take the New Americans off, the housing program, we need to, that was an opportunity that could have been covered by the housing committee,
Yeah.
set their priorities. And so that's why Dave is going to just find out where we landed with the housing committee. The top three, we weren't able to fund them, but what we need to tell them, Linda, is exactly what you said. The governor has taken these initiatives off the table, all of these one-time initiatives. And at this point, our committee is struggling with finding the $23 million for the commitment we've made to the state colleges. Once we get to that 23 million, then
Okay.
there's additional money left
Right.
over. We can look for it. We have never had 23 million just
Laying around.
so that's going to be a challenge. If you open up your notes, so if you have them from when ACCD came in, they did talk about some of their new provisions that one piece is in language, and I would like to have legislative counsel come in, the equity stimulus that they put in for $2 million. And that was to give Vermonters the $1,200 that didn't fit the criteria of the federal government.
Right.
And it's the Vermonters who were kind of left behind. This goes out to people, I believe, and this is why I want Ledge Council to come in, who actually paid federal and state income taxes, and I believe they have to have a social security number. So it's just not, going out to, anybody all over again, or just anybody who wasn't included. Like my daughter doesn't qualify for it. She has a social security number, but because she's still under her parents, even though
She's a dependent. She's a dependent. Yes.
Doesn't qualify. So it doesn't just go out to anyone. It goes out to those who paid in and I believe have to have a social security number. They did talk about public access, and they felt that that was not CRF appropriate. And so that's in the $100,000 one-time ask. But then let's go through their budgets. And the first budget we have in front of us, B800, is the administration's budget. And Linda, there was a grant reduction to UVM at $50,000 for the Vermont Center to Rural Studies. Have you heard? I would like the Committee of Jurisdiction to weigh in on that. And they didn't.
Okay.
That.
Yeah.
If you could weigh in on that. And now it's totally eliminated. It was at 150, 100,000 came off, and now they've removed the last 50,000. And other than that, it was just the normal ups and downs. So it was
Right.
the 5%, the 3%, but it's the Vermont Center for Rural Studies.
Yeah.
Center,
And reduced.
it's now eliminated.
Mm. Yeah, was it 50,000 or something? If I'm,
It was 150, 100 came out before, and now they now have eliminated it.
I don't see that. I'm seeing a 50,000 from the UVM Data Grants Center grant elimination, but I'm not seeing the rural studies.
That's the name. I think that's the name of it. I think that's the name.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what they do at UVM, the Vermont Center for Rural Studies.
Okay.
So if they could comment on that, and then on housing and community development, where's that one? Is that economic development? Oh, housing and community development. They said their total downs were, oh no, I skipped I skipped around. Let's go to economic development. I just see the reduction of 47.9. They did not talk about any programmatic or policy changes here. And can somebody compare it to the one before and help us see? Linda, do you know if this is just the 5% and 3%?
Yes, that's all it is.
It's just the 5% and 3%.
Right. There's a 5% on the in ISF and both in workers' comp and in vision insurance, et cetera, like that. And then just a minor percent on the other ones. But this budget is greater. Wait, I have the notes here in front of me. Where is it? It's greater than what's on our web, than the FY20 on our web report, but it is actually less than what the recommend was in January. So they're adhering to that. There's just no other changes. When I talked all this over with Ted, he said basically these are, for the four sections, these are minor changes. Their main concern was, as what Kitty presented to us in terms of the big asks, the stimulus program, the tax credit proposals, expansion of consumer stimulus, and the economic development marketing, and the targeted hospitality and tourism grant funds. So in terms of what their everyday work was, it was pretty much the same.
Okay, so let's just go, let's look at their tourism budget in January was 35,509. So they did do the small reductions there for the 3% and 5%.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just looking at those numbers too. Yeah, they were very small percentages of the 5% and 3% there. So the additional 10 million that they're asking for tourism and marketing, that's within CRF dollars, and that will be handled separately.
Okay. Yeah.
So the only question I think that we have is on that for the Committee of Jurisdiction to weigh in on, you can tell them the 3% and 5% are across the board, but it's Vermont Center for Rural Studies. That's the big one I am seeing.
Right.
Then the other pieces are initiatives that are in language, and Ways and Means weighed in March on the 2 tax credits for the downtown village tax credits and the military retirement ones. The only one that we had gotten a definite response was on the military retirement. The downtown village tax credits was to expand at 1.3 million. And I don't know if they, Ways and Means never, they were considering an expansion, and I don't know if they were doing the full amount or if they were just doing a partial expansion. So that's up to me to find out. That's my committee.
I'm pretty sure it was a partial expansion for that. They went up, but they didn't go up 1.3. They went up about 400,000.
Yeah, I got to find out.
Yeah.
Marty?
I wanted to go back to this tourism and marketing just to remind us that we now, in this particular budget, the Commerce Committee on the governor's original one had asked to delete the grants that go out to the mountain biking and to the Convention Bureau.
Right.
And in their letter, the Commerce Committee recommended that be taken out. I believe our committee's stance at that time was to agree with them and take them out of the budget. Obviously, this presented budget is the same as the governor's original one, so those grant amounts are there. And we have, obviously, I think several of us received information from constituents saying they would like to have that money stay in the budget. But that's where it is in tourism and marketing.
So Marty, I'm sorry, I got a text. So I've got to get back to tourism and marketing. Are you saying that the 2 grants are still in for, did the government move them? Or
Yeah, he didn't take them out.
okay, so we need to, oh, go ahead, Marty.
Right. Well, they were in the original governor's budget, and we didn't see them because they're hidden way down in the Vantage reports. It was the governor did not recommend taking them out of the standard budget, but the Commerce Committee did. And in their letter to us, they suggested that we take that out of the base funding. And our committee said yes back in March. That I think our agreement was that we were going to take those out. But now this new budget is of course the same as before, so they're there, and so we need to
either affirm or not
take action if we choose to or not.
Okay, so it's the Bikers Association.
And I don't know that.
Center.
I don't know. Did the Commerce Committee recently comment on that point?
Linda, did you ask them?
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay.
So because the request came in about the mountain bike, and then at the same time, when I talked to Ted, we had talked about the Convention Bureau. But anyway, I sent him a note and said that someone had asked about the mountain biking program, and he responded back to me that Commerce doesn't support the eliminating funding for the Convention Bureau or the Mountain Bike Association. We think it's not in the best interest of the 2 industries that need our support right now. He said, but however, in the letter that we originally got from Commerce Committee, you remember the letter with all the colors on it that they were listing the most important or anything like that, they recommended not funding the biking and the Convention Bureau. So, but it's back in now, so we have to make a decision. Do we go with the governor's recommend, or do we go with the Commerce Committee? It's as simple as that.
Did they change
We
their
checked
mind?
Linda,
out.
So Linda,
has the Commerce Committee recently asked?
so
Pardon me?
what? Go ahead, Martin.
I'm sorry, did the Commerce Committee make a recent
Right.
stance on this particular issue?
They
Or are
just
they standing by their,
they last night forwarded me the letter they originally sent to us that it eliminated the 2 and said that this is where they're standing on this right now.
Okay,
okay.
so they want it out.
They want it out.
Okay, so I want to, my question is, are they considering anything for CRF funding? That was one of my questions. And so what I would like the Commerce Committee to weigh in on, because they weighed in on only the one-time money, and I want them to weigh in on these sections of the budget. And so
Okay,
what I would like to do is, before we close these pieces out, have them weigh in on the Vermont Center for Rural Studies. And if they're keeping their stance where they are on the other ones, to weigh in on those, but also make sure that they realize that when they're doing the CRF money, that, and I'm sure they're weighing in on this, they don't have the 2 tax credits. That's another committee. Yeah, Mike knows all the pieces, that the 133 million, they're looking at all of that. And also the 10 million in marketing, because that's outside the budget. And then the other piece was the $2 million for the equity stimulus for the Vermonters left behind. And I think those are the pieces in CRF that they're looking at: the 133, 10 million for marketing, and the 2 million for Vermonters left behind. I will check with Janet on the downtown tax village and downtown and village tax credit. And I think that's it. So if they would just weigh in on 800, 801, 806, and 802. 800,
okay.
801, 802, and 806. Did I
Kitty?
miss? Yeah? Yes, Marty?
The equity stimulus program is general fund, not CRF.
No, is it? No, I thought that was CRF.
Yes.
Oh,
No.
one
No,
time.
it's because it didn't qualify, so they want to use general funds to
Yeah,
fill it.
Right.
Wait a minute. Are
Right.
you sure that's general fund?
It says general funds one time, 2.1 million.
So 200 of it, 2 million is the equity stimulus, and 100,000
It's
is
the public access.
access. So they need to weigh in on both of those pieces. Boy, I
Okay.
thought it was CRF.
there
I
was.
know the 100,000 is not CRF. That was not appropriate, but the 2 million also was GF.
Yes,
Yes.
it's on their presentation, that nice one pager.
Yep, thank you.
I thought that was where you were looking at our,
Kitty,
Yeah. Dave, yeah,
may I ask Linda a question?
sure.
Hi, Linda. Linda, can you explain to me what the thinking of Commerce was regarding the bikers and the convention? Were they just trying to help rein in government spending, or was there some policy or programmatic rationale behind their thinking?
They were just looking at, basically, I think, they didn't convey it to me exactly this, but I think what they were feeling was if you're looking at all these lists of things that come from Commerce, then we need to kind of relegate sections. Is this the most important? Is this should be considered? And in the scheme of things, the bikers and the Convention Bureau were not high on their hit list, on their wish list. So that's what I think. I can ask them again today when I talk to them and when I go in with them today and see what they have to say about that.
All right.
I'd appreciate that, because from where I sit, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and the dire situation that the
Yeah.
tourism and hospitality and hotel industries in, any help we can get, I would think would be important. But again, I haven't taken the testimony. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I'm not sure they have either, but
You're right. I don't think
Thank you.
so either.
So Peter has asked for a break. So we're going to take a quick break right now, and let's come back at 10:20. Is that good? 15 minutes, 10:20?
I was thinking of making a pot of coffee right next to me, so I don't have to run upstairs.
Maria, Teresa, do you want us to stay on this?
Yeah, why don't you? And I'll just stop the live stream.
Okay, and Teresa, can you send me just the one page from the, so I can print it